Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tracy's House of Chaos. We are getting ready to do a adorable little mini brag book. This is the Spoiled class, online class from Tracy at Photo Scraps. Of course, chaos ensues always right before I start my videos, which is why I'm usually late. So, anyways. On with today's selection. Today, what I'm showing you is a brand new little book I've done. This is a Prima mini album, which is really cool because you've got the solid chipboard that you're working on. So that is nice. The album is constructed for you. We're going to go through, we're going to cut all the paper. I'm not going to say that we're going to decorate all this in the 2 hours because I have a feeling it's not going to all get done in 2 hours, but I am going to cover the crazy stuff. And by crazy stuff, I mean, this is a cute little magnetic flap I did here. And we have a fold out. So I added this wonderful 6-page fold out to this album so that not only does it come with the waterfalls, which are super easy to cover, but you're also going to have this fabulous fold out. So you have lots of room for all your pictures of your baby. And by baby, of course, I mean your doggy. Now, I did have people ask me, is there going to be a cat version? Yes, there will be a cat version. Photo Play, when they came out with this adorable line, this is the Bow Wow line, they came out with a kitty version also, and I am going to be doing the kitty version. Kitty version is next up, kitty version. But today we're going to work on Spoiled. Now, this is the first time I'm testing my directions to see if my directions are accurate, so we shall find out. Whenever you do any one of my album kits, you're going to start with the cutting instructions. The cutting instructions always are going to take you through everything in the kit. Now, when you get the kit from me, you're going to get it in a big bag here. You get your lovely Prima album. You get all your papers. And then you're also going to get some magnets. These are 15mm magnets to hold that waterfall shut. And so all that's included in your kit. I apologize because I've had a little bit of a head cold. So I don't know what is on my arm. Okay, so in your kit, what we're going to do is we're going to take everything out of your paper pack here. You're going to just put your plastic aside because that's always good for scraps and things. You have ephemera in the kit. You're going to just put that aside. And then there's also a sticker sheet in the kit. You're just going to put that aside for later because that's for decorating purposes. And then you're also going to just put the cover sheet aside because you do not need that. And then we're going to start off with the cutting instructions. We're going to start on page 2 of the instructions, which shows the papers. Now, these 2 yellow papers, you're going to see that there's multiple yellow papers in here. What you have is you have the dog bone pattern, which has the words on the one side, and then you have the dot pattern, which has solid blue on the other side. So we're going to start with the dog bone pattern. So these are the dog bone patterns. We're going to go ahead and just cut off the barcodes. Now, I have a rotary trimmer. I know a lot of people have the little trimmers from Fiskars that have just a little blade. And the little blade one is fine. It'll work great. But you can't usually cut the 2 sheets at once. So I am doing the 2 sheets at once on here. I'm just going to double check, make sure that I am showing up where I'm supposed to show up. Yes, I am. I see me on there. Lovely. Okay, good. So we cut off the little barcode. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at this and we're going to see the way the dog bones are going. Dog bones are going up and down. So we're going to take one of these. We're going to cut it looking at the dog bones. Now, whenever you approach any of the cutting instructions, what you want to look for is you want to look for the first place that you can cut all the way through the paper. Okay, and that measurement is 8 inches with the dog bones going up and down. So that means I need the dog bones going across on my paper trimmer. So my dog bones are across. So, and to make it more visual, you can just turn your instruction sheet and know that you need to cut it at 8 inches. Okay, so the first cut is at 8 inches. I'm not sure if you can see the measurements on my screen. Okay, you can see the measurements down here on the screen, so that works out good. Then we're going to turn the paper. We're going to work on that 8-inch piece. We're going to cut it at 5 3/8. Okay, I'm going to apologize right now because I did use the 1/8. Now, if you have a problem with the 1/8, that's fine. Just reduce it down to the quarter. Your quarter is your bigger line. Now, some paper trimmers have the 1/8, some paper trimmers don't. So this one is 5 3/8. So 5 and then 1 2 3/8. This album, unfortunately, the way it is, it works out better if you cut using the 1/8. I'm so sorry. So your next cut, we need 4 3/4 going across on this piece. And then we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it at 6 1/2. Now, I apologize for the sniffling. Like I said, I've had a cold lately. It's been an interesting few weeks here going on. Always something crazy, always something happening. Now we're going to move on to the 4-inch piece, and we're going to cut it at 4 1/2 inches. And then we're going to take a second one, and we're going to cut it at 4 1/2 inches. And then lastly, we're going to take this little piece that's left. This little piece that's left is 3 inches. We're just going to cut that in half at 1 1/2 inches. So right like that, we cut that at 1 1/2 inches. And that first sheet of yellow is done. We're going to, and not just kind of go across on here, but we're going to come down and we're going to do the second piece of yellow cardstock. Now, what we need to look at on our instructions here is this is not a straight cut across, okay? Because we need these at 5 inches, and then this one is at 5 1/2 for the height. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut off a 2-inch strip of the dog bones going up and down. So we're going to cut it this way. So we're going to do 2 inches of the dog bones going up and down. We're going to take that 2-inch strip, we're going to turn it, and we're going to cut it at 5 inches. And then we're going to cut it again at 5 inches. And now we have the little cut pieces. Now we're going to take this big piece of paper that we were looking at before. Now we want our dog bones going up and down, and we want it to be 5 1/2 inches long. So we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it at 5 1/2 inches. And then we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it at 5 inches. And now you should have 2 5-inch pieces, 5 by 5 1/2, and those go in the keeper pile. Now, whenever I am working on a project like this, I always have my keeper pile and I have my scrap pile. So these are all my scraps. Scraps can just get put aside. That way, when you're trying to put your album together later, you're not getting your scraps confused with your good pieces that are keepers. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the cut apart sheets, which are the stripes on the background. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the barcodes off because why not? I'm here. I know one of them I need to cut the barcodes off of. On the cut apart sheets, one of them you're gonna need to cut apart. Hence the name cut apart sheets. So we're gonna just cut it apart according to the pattern on one. And then the other one we're going to flip over and we're going to ignore the lovely pattern and we're going to cut these beautiful stripes. Now, when we're cutting the stripes, looking at the instruction sheet, we want to make sure that we have our stripes like this. So we're seeing the most of the stripe. In order to do that, we're going to need to turn the paper. And this one, it starts off by saying cut 2 8 by 1/4 inch strips because we're doing little skinny strips for the front cover. Whenever I'm doing small measurements like a quarter, baby. Whenever I'm doing small measurements like a quarter, I always will try to measure on the right side of my trimmer. So we're going to come over here on the right side and measure a 1/4 inch. You can, and the reason I do that is because in order to do a 1/4 inch going this direction, I've got this big piece of paper falling off my paper trimmer. There's no support for the paper, and you're more likely to make a really wonky cut. So 1/4 inch strip and 2 1/4 inch strips. All right. And then baby, you're loud. Like I'm videoing. I know. I'm just saying. It's making noise, babe. All right, then you're going to take these 2 1/4 inch strips. You're going to cut them at 8 and give those a little cut. And then we're going to put those in the keeper pile. Then we need more stripe paper. Sorry, I'm just adjusting the lighting in here. All right, so we're gonna take this, we need it to be 4 1/4 inches tall. And then we're going to cut it at 4 7/8. Again, I'm sorry, you could cut it at 5, but it's gonna be a little bit long for your album. So if you prefer to just cut 5 inches and not 4 1/4, cut it at 5. And then when you're going to put it in your waterfall and you're kind of measuring the waterfall, you can just take a little tiny sliver off, and that'll be an 1/8. All right, so 4 7/8. 4 7/8, and then just FYI on the trimmer, it's just 1 line less than the 5 inches when you have the 1/8 showing. You can always cut smaller. You could cut it at 4 3/4 and then have a little bit more brown showing on your album. The last one that we're going to need for the stripes, we need it to be another 1/2 inch strip. So the first one was a 1/4, this one's a 1/2. So this 1/2 inch strip, we are going to turn it and cut it at 4 7/8. And 4 7/8. So again, we've got our little keepers going in our keeper pile. The rest of this stripe is scrap. We're going to put it in the scrap pile. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut our cut apart sheet apart. I would save this till later, but there's a couple of the pieces that we need for the design of the album, so I need to go ahead and just cut them apart really quickly for you. Once you have a paper trimmer that you use all the time, you are going to be, it'll be easy to do all these cuts really quick. We need this little guy for the front. Okay, baby. Tom, my customer is here right now. If you could just greet her at the door. My paper is right next to the front door. She's going to give you $50 and some change. Thank you. Sorry, I had a customer popping in today. Pretty soon the dog alarm is going to go off as soon as the dog realizes, oh my gosh, there's someone at the door. Aren't dogs fun? I'm a cat person. I'm used to living with cats, and now having the dog is just like, wow, dogs are so much louder than cats. It's crazy. Let's see if he's in there. Oh, okay, you got the dog. Okay. Do you see the paper pack right there laying down? Yes, that one. Thank you so much. Thank you, baby. Okay. All right, he actually put the dog in the room so we didn't have to hear the woof woof. Oh, no, sorry, I lied. I spoke too quickly. Speaking of dog album, guess whose photos are going in this album? That little monkey that's barking right now. That one is a barker. Okay, so all the cut aparts are keepers. And so we shall put them in the keepers. I think those are... Alrighty, next we're going to move along to dog bowls, okay? The dog bowl paper, you are going to find that some of these instructions, like this one, I just have one dog bowl paper. I have a second one on the back side. We're just going to do one dog bowl paper right now. We'll move on to page 2 on the instructions. Oh, lovely. Incoming call. Decline. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong in live videos. Thank you for your patience. Now, the dog bowls really don't have a rhyme or reason on them. I'm just going to turn it because I think this one's a little more up and down. And so we need to have 8-inch strips. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the first cut at 8 inches. Feel that one move. I didn't have a good grip on my paper trimmer. The second measurement is 5 1/4. Oh, wow. I am really off. Why am I so off on my paper trimmer here? Sorry, 5 1/4. Whew. That one was way out to lunch. Okay. So you should have an 8 by 5 1/4. Now we need 2, I'm going to just flip it around this way so I know they're even because my edge over here is a little messed up. So I need 2 that are 1 5/8. So 5/8 is just slightly bigger than the half. So make sure that this is straight. 1 5/8. All right. Those are for my outside spine. Then the last thing I need is one that is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the 3 3/4 and 2 3/4. All right, and then that's a keeper. The rest of this is scrap. So accordingly, we'll go in the scrap pile. Next, we're going to go ahead and grab one of our sheets of the red chevron. Okay, the red chevron has the black dog bones on the back. We are going to need both sheets of this. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut both my barcodes off right now. That way, we're done with that. Now, I'll put one sheet aside. So, we want to make sure that the chevrons are going across. Now, okay, if you mess this up and your chevrons are going up and down, it is not the end of the world. Do not worry. Do not fret. Use it. Nobody is going to know that a mistake was made, okay? That includes me if I accidentally cut it wrong. You want your chevrons going vertically on the paper trimmer, and then you want to cut at 7 1/2 inches. 7 1/2. And then we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it at 5. And we're going to cut it at 4 1/4. And we're going to put these aside. If you're watching these Facebook videos later, I know I am going fast. I do get that. And I apologize. I know I need to do it quickly for time so that way I can kind of keep the video within a certain amount of time. Now you need 2 1-inch by 7 1/2 inch strips. Thank you. Alrighty. Well, Mr. Barks a lot. There's actually a little tag in here that says Mr. Barks a lot. And I know exactly what little doggy's face is going on that. You're listening to him in the background. Crazy little dog. Okay, now this piece of paper. All right, when we're looking at this, you need 2 6-inch strips that are by 1 inch. So 6 inches wide by 1. And then you need, gosh, my nails are falling apart. Then you also need 2 1 1/2 inch strips that are by 7/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at 1 inch the long ways. All right, so 1 inch the long ways. And again, I like to use the right side of my trimmer when I'm cutting the 1 inch, but there's no right or wrong on that. Then we're going to take that 1 inch strip that we just cut, and we're going to cut 2 6 inch. So we're just cutting it in half at 6 inches, and then both of those are keepers. Now we're left with this long piece. These next 2 strips here need to be 7 and 7/8. So we're just going to cut it to 7 and 7/8, which is 1 line less than the 8. And then we're going to turn it. It should be, well, it's a little bit bigger than 3 inches. We need 2 1.5 inch strips. This is for the inside binding on our albums. So 1.5 and 1.5. All right, there we go. So those are keepers. This little strip is scrap that'll go over in the scrap pile. So the first piece of red cardstock is now complete. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on to the second piece of red cardstock with the chevron. And then I'm just kind of looking at the measurements. We need 7.5, 7.5. This doesn't matter because it's just going to be a block. And then these are all kind of different measurements here. So we're going to go ahead and cut that 7.5 with the chevron going across, meaning on our paper trimmer, we want the chevrons to be going up and down, so that way our paper is going to end up going across. So with our chevrons going up and down, you're going to cut it at 7.5. And then we're going to turn it, and we're going to cut a 1 inch strip. And put that in the good pile. And then we're going to cut a 4 1/4 inch piece. Put that in that keeper pile. Now, the rest of this side of the paper, we need to have some smaller measurements here. So what we need is we need 2 1/2 inch strips, and we need a 3.5 inch piece. So I'm just going to turn this so it's going the correct direction. And the rest of this is all going to be scrap and stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut my first measurement, which is the up and down measurement of 3.5. So there's my 3.5. I'm going to go ahead and turn my 3.5, and I'm going to cut it by 4 7/8. So that's the 1 line less than the 5. And then we're keeping that one. This little piece is scrap. Then on this one, we need 2 1/2 inch strips. So I'm going to use the right side of my trimmer again, and I'm going to go 1/2 and 1/2. And then this big piece becomes scrap. We're going to turn these little guys, and we're going to cut them at 4 7/8. So 1 line less than the 5. Cut those. Keepers, scraps, and that half of that one is done. Now, what we have left over here is this piece of red, which is the bottom one. So, height-wise, the height is 3 3/4. Now, when you're looking at my drawings, okay, you're going to say, oh my gosh, there's not leftover paper here showing, but I have a leftover piece. It's okay. Excuse me. The measurements are accurate. The drawing is me eyeballing, seeing how much, how big I think it should be on there. It's not accurate in the drawing. The direction is accurate, but the spacing is not. So we have this little piece going bye-bye. So in 3 3/4 we have. Now we need a 4 inch piece. Put that over there. And a 3 inch piece. Put this over here. Then we're going to need a 5 inch piece. Now this is already 5 inches, okay? But we need to turn it, and we need to cut it at 2 3/4. So a little scrap here and a little keeper there. And then we are done the 2 red pieces. Now we're going to move on to the 2 heart pieces. So this is a funky paw print heart, which is kind of fun. So you'll see that we've got the blue plaid on one side and the cute little paw print hearts on the other. I'm going to go ahead and take off both barcodes. Photoplay is one of those companies that does not put any decorative paper on the back of their barcode strips. Other companies do put decorations there so that you can end up using them for borders and things like that. Now, we are going to look at our instructions here, and we're going to see that we have got some very straightforward measurements on this. So we're doing one sheet of the heart paper. We want the hearts to be going up and down. I can go ahead and make a cut at 5 inches, and then I can do another cut at 5 inches, and then we will be just fine. So we're going to go 5 inches with the hearts looking like they're in the correct direction for you on your paper trimmer. So 5 inches. Five inches. Then we're going to take these two 5-inch pieces and we're going to turn them, and we are going to cut them at 6 inches. I can tell that just moved. Hopefully it didn't move too much. So then we have 4 pieces that are 5 by 6, and those are all keepers. And we're left with this long skinny piece here, and we need 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 7.5. So we're going to start off by measuring the 7.5, and then that is scrap, and then we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it at 1 inch. So this is one of those papers that where it's 2 inches wide, we cut it at 1 inch right down the middle, and we keep both of them. We're going to end up using the plaid, I believe, on that one. So the first piece of heart paper is done and cut. Now we're going to move on to the second heart piece. Now, I've got a couple of different things going on here. We need lots of little strips for our panels, and then we need some pieces for our waterfalls. Our pieces for our waterfalls are 4.5 inches wide. So let's go ahead and cut the pieces that are going in the waterfall that are 4.5 inches wide. And it honestly does not matter if you cut it from the left side of the page or the right side of the page. I know I'm showing it on the right side of the page, but it does not matter. But it's 4.5 inches wide. All my measurements are width by height. So I try to keep it consistent when I'm writing these, so that way it doesn't get as confusing when you are trying to cut these out. I caught myself a few times. I had it written the other direction, so from what I had in the photo, so I went ahead and switched them. You end up with a little piece of scrap left. Now you have 2 pieces of 4.5 by 4 for your waterfall. Now we have this piece left over. We want 4 1/2 by 5 inch pieces and 4 1/3 of an inch by 5 pieces. So what we're going to do is you need, what that translates into is you need 2 long strips that are 1.5. So we're going to break it into the bigger measurements. So 2 long strips that are 1.5. So 1, 2, and then you need 2 long strips that are 3/4 of an inch. Again, this is a little easier for me to do on the right side of my paper trimmer. I can keep the paper a little straighter doing it this way. Okay, I think I did that right. Yep, 3/4. Okay, the rest of this is scrap. My scrap pile is getting big. Now, all of these need to be 5 inches long. So right now we're at 12 inches. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them all at once. I will probably mess this up, but that's okay. All right, so here we go. We've got 5 inches. And then we need to do it one more time at 5 inches. This is the beauty of a rotary trimmer, that you can cut more than one piece of paper at a time. And I understand if you're working with a one of the other ones, you cannot do that. So I probably just fast forwarded for a whole bunch of you. Sorry. All right, so now we are done this whole sheet on the cutting instructions, and we're moving on to sheet 2. Now, sheet 2, this first paper, and I'm going to change the color so that way when you get the instructions, you can see it a little bit better. But this one's the turquoise paper. This one is the solid blue. We're going to start with the turquoise paper. There's 3 sheets of the Bow Wow. These are the solids pack. And so one side has a little bubbles on them, and then one side are solids. We're going to start with the turquoise bubble paper. We're going to go ahead and cut off the barcode. There is no direction to this paper. It's not directional, so you can cut it in any direction that you want. Now, I'm looking at my measurements. So my measurements, I've kind of got it so that I'm going to be cutting long strips going down. So we're first going to start at 2 inches. So we need a 2-inch piece. And I kind of put it so that way I can't see my instructions. All right, so 2 inches by 8 is going to be on the front cover. That's going to be your binding. Little piece of scrap. Keeper. Now, our next piece that we're going to cut is 3.5 inches wide. So 3.5 inches. So we're going to take that 3.5 inch piece. We're going to cut it at 3.5 for the first cut. Then we're going to cut it at 4 inches. And then we're going to cut it at 4.5, and it should be 4.5. Yep, it should be 4.5. So 2 cuts on that, and that one's done. Next, we need 2 1/2-inch by 5-inch strips and 2 1/2-inch by 4 3/4. So we're going to need 2 completely long strips that are 1/2 inch. I'm going to use the right side of my trimmer for this one. 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. Scrap for the rest of that. We're going to take 1 and we're going to cut it at 5 inches 2 times. So 5 inches. 5 inches. Okay, both those were keepers, a little scrappy. And then this one we're going to cut at 4 3/4. All right, a little scrap, a couple of keepers. All right, next we're going to find the green solid. Okay, so here's the green solid. We're going to go ahead and cut this. This paper, again, is not directional, so you can cut it in any direction you want, and it's going to be perfectly fine. Now, we're going to look for things to cut through. So these are 4 inches wide. So let's go ahead and cut a 4-inch wide strip. We're going to start with the 4-inch wide strip, and we're going to cut it. I'll just put the instructions over here so you guys can see them better, maybe. Trying to make it so you can see it a little bit while I'm doing this. So 4 inches wide, we're going to cut it at 4.5, 4.5. And then we should be left with a 3. So 4.5, 4.5, and we are left with 3. Perfect. So those are all keepers. Done. Next one, we're going to take that 12-inch piece and we're going to cut it lengthwise again. Now we're looking for 3 3/4 inch wide. So 3 3/4. Put the scrap aside. And then 3 3/4, we want to have a 4.5. And a 4 1/4. And then this is scrap. Now we are left with a strip that is 4 1/4 inches wide, and we need some, okay, so the first one that we need is we need a 4 1/4 by 3 1/2. So let's just turn this and cut it at 3 1/2 because we already have one direction. Then we need a 3 by 3 1/2. So let's just do the 3, which is a smaller number, and then turn it and cut it at 3 1/2. And then lastly, we need a 4 by 4 3/4. Okay, so this is 4 1/4, so that's not going to work in that direction. So we're going to go ahead and cut it 4 3/4 in this direction. And then we're going to cut 4 inches in this direction. I need to fix my drawing a little bit better on that one, but it gets you there. All right, that's it. Now this next one, well, I don't know. I'm just trying to think if I should switch the color of the thing to the yellow, but that might confuse people cutting the dog bone paper. I don't want to make the directions confusing. They're confusing enough. All right, so our first measurement, we need 4 inches tall. So we're going to go ahead and cut across at 4 inches. We're going to turn it, we're going to cut it at 5 1/2. And then we're going to cut it at 3 1/2. Right? 3 1/2. And then I need to figure out what I did wrong because I only have 3 inches left because I can't do math. 5 1/2. All right, need to fix my instructions on this because there's not enough left to do a 3 1/2. All right, next measurement we're going to do, we're going to cut it at 4 going across. This one, we'll have plenty, we have plenty of this paper to do this with. So we're going to turn this, we're going to cut it at 4 1/4 and 4 1/4. And then we might end up with our 3 1/2 here. Yep, 3 1/2. So we don't even need to cut it. I just need to move it on the instruction sheet. All right, the rest of this blue is scrap. Next, we're going to move on back to pattern paper. We're going to move on to the cute little doggies. We're going to go ahead and cut their barcode off. All right, so first little doggies. Now we do want it, the dogs are directional, so we definitely want to make sure we have this correct. Now I need the dogs to be 7 1/2 inches tall. So I'm going to just take this paper, turn it, and cut it at 7 1/2 inches. So my dogs are 7 1/2 inches tall. All right, and then we're going to turn this and we're going to cut it at 4 1/2 inches. So that part is a keeper. Now from this scrap here, I need to cut a 5 by 5 paper. So it doesn't really matter where I do it. This part's scrap. And then we need 5 inches this way. All right, and then we have our keeper, our 5 by 5. That little piece is scrap. Moving on to the bottom part. We need it to be 4 1/2 by, we need 4 1/2 inches wide by 4 inches tall. It does, like this is 4 1/2 inches, but it will not work this way because we're using the dog pattern and we want to make sure it's going in the correct direction when we put it in our album. So we need to cut this at 4 inches the long way. And we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it at so it's 4 inches that way. We need it going across at 4 1/2 inches. And then this little piece is scrap. Next, we're going to move on to our other doggy pattern one. Again, we want the dogs to be 7 1/2 inches tall. So we're going to go ahead and turn this and we're going to cut it at 7 1/2 inches. And then we need 2 pieces that are 4 1/2 inches. So 4.5. 4.5, and then this is scrap. Now we're left with, again, we have a 4.5-inch piece. We are going to be using the polka dots on this one, but I'm going to just go ahead and stick to the instructions here. And we're going to do this 4 inches wide. And then we're going to turn it, and we're going to cut it at 4.5. And 4.5. And then this little piece is scrap. These are keepers. And then last, for the pattern papers, we have the little dog toys, or the water bowls, as we want to call them. We're going to go ahead and we can actually don't even need to cut that off. We need 2 strips that are 4 inches tall. This is not really a directional paper. So 2 strips that are 4 inches tall. This piece, the barcode, can be scrap. We're going to turn these babies. We need them 4.5 inches wide. This is going in our waterfall, so 4.5. Messed up that edge a little bit. I'll just turn it around and do it on this one. And then 4.5. And then these are scraps. And then you have your 2 4.5s. Now, we're going to move on to the solid fawn paper. Oopsies. All right, so everybody has 3 sheets of the fawn in their kit. Just for sake of quickness, I'm going to go ahead and cut them one time and go through this little bit here. I'm trying to think of where I put something. All right, first measurement we're going to do is we're going to cut it at, we need these pieces to be 12 inches wide by 7 3/4 inches tall. So we're going to do 7 3/4 inches tall. Okay, so now you have your 3 long pieces. We're going to end up scoring these, so we'll just set those aside for now. But we have 2 other little ones that we need to cut here. And we can probably cut these out of 1 sheet of this. So let's do the bigger piece here. So we need a pocket. We're going to make a little pocket for one of our pages. And we're going to cut it to 3 1/4 inches by 6 inches. So I'm just looking at the measurements here. So 6 inches, we're just going to go ahead and cut this at 6 inches. And then we're going to cut it at 3 1/4. So this is your 6 inch by 3 1/4. We're going to put this aside because this is going to need to be scored. Then we also need 2 1 inch by 6 inches. So we just cut a 6 inch piece. So this is already 6 inches wide. And we need 2 1 inch pieces for the folio closure. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, those are keepers. And the rest of this is all going to go over here into scrap. So congratulations. We've just made it through the cutting phase of this. We've got everything cut to size. I am just looking for my paper scorer. We just recently painted the office that I'm recording in, and I moved everything all around, and I'm not quite sure where I put my scoring tool. Now, when you're doing these, it is easier to do them with a scoring tool, but different paper trimmers may allow you to do different things. So I know how to score on this paper trimmer because I have a rotary blade. I don't know that this would work with a non-rotary blade, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the little pocket. I'm going to take a sip of coffee because I'm really thirsty. Okay, so to score it on my paper trimmer, You can do two things. If you have one of those little gullies, you can take a little scoring tool and you can just score in the gully. But this, what I'm going to do is, because it's a rotary, if I've noticed that if I press lightly, I can just crease my paper without actually cutting my paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and score this little piece. You need to score it at 1/2 inch, so a 1/2 inch on 3 sides. Okay, so 1/2 inch score marks on 3 sides, and then you can see that when you fold them, so you get 1/2 inch score marks on 3 sides. To create this little pocket, we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut across the intersection. You don't want to really cut off the intersection, you just want to cut it across. What this does is it helps miter your corners. I guess somehow today it is appropriate that we have a dog barking because it is a dog album. So there you go. It lends to the authenticity of the album that there is a dog. Someday there'll be photos in it. I do have a lot of cute little photos of him. His name is Coco. Coco the Barker. He is a multi-poo and he is loud. So this creates the back of your pocket. When we get to the album, we're just going to glue it on a page. Okay, so that can just go in the keeper pile for now because we're not using it at the moment. Next, what we've got is our big pieces of our fawn cardstock. So this we need to score at 5 1/4 inches. So 5 1/4 inches. All right, so there's my 5 1/4, and then 10 1/2. Now I don't have a 10 1/2 on this paper trimmer. I love this paper trimmer. It does not have an arm on it, so I have to do reverse math on it. So 10 1/2 means that the other, flipping it over, I would be scoring it at 1 1/2. Just means I have to do math with this paper trimmer. So you end up with this piece here. So we're going to end up, when we're folding them, we're going to end up doing Z-fold. So what I mean by a Z-fold is you have one that's a mountain and you have one that's a valley. So that way when you look at it like this, it looks like a Z. So hopefully that's showing up on camera okay. So it looks like a Z. All right. Now we're going to do the same things with the other 2 pieces of paper. We have 5 1/4. 5 1/4. And then we're going to flip it and we're going to score it at 1 1/2. If you have a long scoring tool, of course, you can just score it at the 10 1/2. It's just because this one does not have, oh, okay, glue on my thumb. Okay. And then I'm going to fold it like that. So then, again, we're doing that, what you call Z fold. Oh, I guess the Z goes that way, doesn't it? We're going to layer that on the other one. And last but not least, 5 1/4. And then flipping it and doing 1 1/2. And we're going to go ahead and fold that one up. And we're going to fold this one down. All right. Now this is a textured cardstock. It doesn't really matter which way your texture is going. However, it would probably be better if all your texture were going in the same direction. Okay. So we've officially cut everything. I'm going to go ahead and put together this Z-fold because this is the most confusing part of the album. So you end up with these 3 pieces that we're going to end up turning into our fold out in our album. So when we scored them, we have this 1.5-inch piece. We're going to go ahead, and I have all my texture up in the same direction, so that way you're not just going back and forth between texture and not textured. We're going to take, I'm using Beacon's 3-in-1 glue. Anybody that's watched my videos knows I love this glue. I'll just do the quick spiel. I love this glue because it's like hot glue in a bottle. It's very strong. I've never had to put a project back together again after using this glue. Super strong. If you are not using glue to put this album together, I would recommend using a glue to put this part of the album together. You don't have to use it for everything, but this part of the album is going to be folded and opened and closed and used a lot. So you want to make sure that it can easily fold, open, and close. You don't want to do it over your, you don't want to go over, like when you're putting your papers together, you don't want to go over the fold. But you also want to make sure that when you're using the glue, you don't want to over glue, but you want to be able to make sure it's strong. And so I'm just making sure that I'm burnishing it a little bit to make sure my glue is in there. And the good thing about this glue is it dries really fast, and it's really strong, and it's really permanent, which I love. I do have it in my online store, and I love it also because it's a very low water content, because it's a very thick glue. It's a very low water content, and it does not warp your paper. So most glues will warp your paper. If you use too much glue, it makes it wet, and then your paper is going to buckle. This glue, even if you over glue, it's not going to make your paper buckle, which is nice. The other beauty part about using glue when you're putting this together is that you have movability. So you can move it so that way you have everything all lined up nicely, so that way it's nice and even. When you're doing it with tape, it's a lot harder to line it up, especially with a strong tape. If you're using score tape or something, when you put these together, if you put your paper down wrong, it's next to impossible to get your paper off. So using a glue to do this part is highly recommended. Glue, a tape runner will eventually pop. If you have a lot of stress on the different seams and everything, it's going to pop, and you don't want that to happen. I'm going ahead and I'm taking out the folio from your kit, and then take out this part. This is all just trash. We're just going to put that down there. Now, we have, this is how the folio looks. And it's cute. It's got your magnets already built in, yay, which is why I didn't decorate this flap, and I only put one sheet of paper on here because I wanted to make sure that the magnets stayed nice and tight. Now, what we are going to do is, you see that we have our folio, our waterfall, but I want to go ahead and add some paper here. We have plenty of room. See if you can look in here. There's space in here for some more stuff. And instead of just putting like one photo on here, I want to be able to put a whole bunch. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and find in our stash of papers that we cut. We cut 2 1-inch strips from the fawn, and we also cut 2 1-inch by 6-inch strips from the red. We need to find those 6 by 1-inch strips. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to build a closure for this album. In your kit, you're going to need to grab your 2 magnets. Grab your magnets. Go ahead and take them out of your little packaging. These things are super strong. You can tell just by sliding them apart, they just want to go back together again. Now, we don't want to cover them with a ton of paper, but we do want to cover them enough that they're not going to be seen in the album. I'm just going to refer back to the album here. So what the magnets are doing is they're going to hold this little belly band that we're going to build, and they're going to hold our folio part, our fold out part together, so it's not just flopping around in our album. Okay, so we're going to be gluing the magnets inside of these little fold out pieces. Okay, and then we're going to try to get them so that way they will keep it closed, but also give you enough room that if you put photos on here, I didn't build it so tight that I couldn't put photos. Okay, because I left it room when I bent the pieces. Now we're going to start with one of them. You're going to take your fawn piece, and you can put your texture on your outside and your glue on the inside. We're going to go ahead, I'm just trying to think. The way I did this, it was a little weird. I'll just show you guys how I did it. I just glued part of it. Okay, I wanted my red on top, and I wanted them lined up. So I put maybe 2 inches of glue down on my little piece here. You want to make sure that, of course I get a piece that has a little white on it. You want to make sure that, boy, I really messed up that edge. Anyways, you want to make sure that your right end is going to be the open part. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take our album and we're going to glue, we're going to fold this at about 1.5. I'm just going to give it a good old straight fold. You can score it if you want to, but I'm going to fold it at about 1.5, and then again at about 1. Yeah, about 1. I'm just kind of looking at my other album. So it's going to have kind of a double score. Okay, so when it sits in the album over the fold out, it's going to sit like this. We're going to want the magnet to be roughly dead center. So we're going to go ahead and first glue this down. So now that you have one end of that glued and you have double folds in it, about 1.5 inch on that fold, about 1 inch on this fold. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take our glue, and we're going to glue the back side of this red, and we're going to put it roughly center, and you can see where the center magnet is here in the album, and we're going to put it kind of up against the binding. Okay, you're going to leave maybe 1/8 of an inch here, but you want it to go across roughly in the middle. As you can see, I'm an eyeballer. I am not a measurer on these kind of things. You want this part to look straight when it's going across, and you're just going to glue it in your album like so. Now, all right, when I did the second piece, when I put my first sample together, what I did is I did the same thing, and I put the magnet in between these two pieces. I'm not going to do that on this one because I ended up, I'll show you here, I ended up covering the back of the beige with another piece of paper. So we're going to wait to put the second magnet on this red piece. So we can go ahead and do this red strip entirely. Okay, go ahead and put your glue on your smooth side of your beige cardstock. Beige fawn, it's actually called Fawn is the name of it. It's a basil fawn. It's about as close as I could get to the album cover, and it blends in pretty seamlessly, I think. So we're going to go ahead and glue that whole strip. Now this time when we're scoring, we're going to be scoring the opposite direction because we're going to be gluing it to this part of the album versus the other side. So we're going to fold from the right side. We're going to fold about 1.5 inches down. We want to keep it roughly straight, so we're just going to give that a good fold like so. Then we're going to go about 1 inch from there, and we also want to make sure that that's as straight as possible, so that way we have this piece folded like so. We're going to go ahead and get our glue, and we're going to put our glue on the back side of the red. And then we're going to line it up with the other red one. We want to make sure that it is even as possible. And then we're going to glue this up towards the fold of the album. We want to make sure that the album still closes, so do not cover where it folds, but you want to get as close to that edge as possible, okay? Because what's going to happen is this whole folio needs to be able to fit inside, okay? So that's why you need to be close to the edge. And of course I just knocked it because I was trying to get as close as possible. As close as possible without going over. I am just really messing this up here. I can do this, I really can. Okay, here we go, there. As close as possible. I should maybe go a little bit more this way. Still a little give on that one. All right, so now we have those two pieces in place. I can tell my glue is still not 100% set on the right one. We're going to go ahead and open up this one. I just folded it back the other direction, which is fine. We're going to aim on here for roughly the middle. It kind of doesn't matter which side of the first magnet goes down, because the first magnet that's going to go down is, we're just going to put the second magnet in based on that. So go ahead and open this up, put glue down. You don't want to have so much glue that it's shooting out your edges. You need to have a pretty good base of glue on here. It doesn't have to be super thick, it just has to be kind of coated, because we're going to stick the magnet in here. Now we're going to eyeball where the center of the page is, and we're going to put our magnet roughly center of the page. Then we're going to just close it, let our glue dry. So we're gluing the bottom of the magnet in there, and you've got glue on both sides of the magnet, so that way it's going to keep it sealed in there. Okay, I'm just kind of pressing down around the outside edges of the magnet, so that way that glue has a chance to hold and lock in place. The reason being is that these magnets are super strong, so if we line it up crooked, it's going to pull. The magnet is stronger than the paper. I'm not sure that it'll pull through the glue. Once we have it kind of lined up and lined by glue, I think we're going to be okay. But that's why we're giving this extra little press to make sure that the glue has a chance to really grab this on the edges and the underneath, to kind of build up a little edge on it, so that way it doesn't move on this in the future. Okay, so we did that good press. Now, to tell which side of the magnet it is, it'll do it for you. All right, and now we don't need to do anything with that for the moment, because we're going to wait until we're decorating to put the other magnet on. So you don't lose your magnet, go ahead and just stick it to the outside of this red part. Now you're going to go ahead and open that up, and we're going to go back to our lovely long piece that we created. Okay, now we have one little flap left, and that little flap is going to get glued right inside our album, right up to the edge. So go ahead and grab your glue and put it right along the flap here. Okay, so we have that very glued now, and we want to have this edge. I'm just kind of opening it up so I can feel it, and I don't know if I guess I can show you. It's this way as best as possible. I'm going to make sure that I'm okay top to bottom on the album. I want to make sure that this folds up, and I want to scoot it as close to that edge as I can and let that still fold. Okay, does that make sense? We want it straight in the book, so that way, oops, and I'm seeing that my thing is skewing a little bit to the left here, so I'm going to need to slide that over a touch, so that way everything folds, so I'm not fighting my fold. It's like I scored a little bit off. It'll work. Alrighty, and then Just kind of hold that in there. Make sure we have it straight. And then your folio piece, your fold out, is going to be attached. So that's the really tricky part of the album. The rest of this is just decorating. So now we're on to decorating. We're going to let all that just kind of dry and settle before we go to decorate that. Let's see, I'm just double checking my time, seeing how I am on time, looking at my comments. I didn't. Londa, if you're still there, the kit does come with the album, so you don't have to make that album yourself. It comes right along with it. So that is super nice. That way you don't have to build the space. There are some album kits that I have, particularly in the store right now. The one that you have to make it from scratch is the Halloween, the Hocus Pocus album from Echo Park. Super cute. And I will be doing it someday as a Disney album. And that's going to be one that we're going to be cutting all the paper, scoring all the paper, and putting it all together. I'll make sure that day I have my paper scorer handy. But in the meantime, this one is nice because it's all in one. You've got a nice base to go from, and it's nice and solid. So this makes a wonderful little brag book. So here is the finished brag book and the album. You're going to have complete photos in your kit, so that way you know what papers to use where. It'll have measurements and stuff, and on most of these measurements I kind of tell you where the papers are going to go. But a lot of times, like when I'm actually putting them together, I'm just kind of going, look for the biggest yellow one. So we're going to start with that. We're going to look for the biggest yellow piece. And then, I see my little end piece here. We're going to play the matching game. We're going to go through, we're going to find our papers for our cover. So there's one big piece of yellow, which is going to get glued right there. We've got this piece, and we need two skinny stripe pieces that are long. Two skinny long stripe pieces. Boom. So nothing fancy here. We're just going to glue all this stuff down. Okay. So let's slide this into place a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. I did not ink any of my edges or rough up any of my edges. Oh, great. I just heard my phone doing the ding ding like the battery's dying. That is fantastic. That is not good. Yeah, battery. Great. Let's see. I need to go digging for a cord that's long enough. My little phone cord that I have right now is short, and it will not reach up to my phone for charging it. And my charger. Okay, you know what I can do? Do I have that in here? I do not have that in here. Do we have a power strip? Shoot, I took the power strip out of there. Sorry, people. I just need to take a quick break and find a way to do a phone charger. Tom, do we have any power strips handy? Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm a pest. I keep putting my assistant to work today. He didn't know he was my assistant.
I'll find, well, I know right where I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, my handy dandy assistant is going and finding me a power strip so that way I can plug my phone in. My silly power adapter, the cord is so small, and I have an 8-foot one somewhere. Of course, do you think I can find the 8-foot one when I need it? I travel so much doing all the vending at these different crops and things that I'm always forever moving the phone cords and stuff with me. And of course, they never go back where they came from. And I can never find them. Thank you so much. Where does the plug go? Okay. All right. Sorry for the delay. Trying to make this as... Did that work? Is it charging? Are we better now? Okay, I think the warning went away. All right, anyway, sorry. Carrying on now. Anyways, I do so much traveling now. I'm doing, a lot of you know that my store closed in November, and now I'm just doing traveling vending at crop events all around the Maryland, Washington, D.C., and a little bit in Pennsylvania area. This weekend I'm going to be up in Gettysburg in Pennsylvania at the, Crazy Croppers with K's. Crazy Cropping event at the Aspire Hotel in Gettysburg. I'll be setting up on Thursday, and then I'll be there Friday and Saturday, and then they fold up on Sunday afternoon. And that one is nice and close to my house, so it's good, so I don't have to get a hotel room this time. So it won't be quite as much stuff I don't have to pack a suitcase this time, which is going to be nice. So this time I get to just drive home at night, sleep in my own bed, and not have to worry about that part of it. However, my car is loaded down with merchandise and stuff for the event. For the cover, I know you guys can go ahead and put stickers on an album, okay? So I'm going to let you do the spoiled part because I want to be able to get all the papers and stuff in the album, and I know that that's going to take a little bit longer than... it's going to take a little bit longer to do that than watching me put stickers on an album. I'm convinced that you can do it yourself, and now I am not finding my photo mat that I needed. Did I not cut the photo mat for that? Yeah, I did not. The photo mat, we need a mat that's 3x4 from that blue. Looks like I missed that in my cutting instructions. Not surprised. But my scraps are handy, so we're going to do a quick trim here. Now, we need a 3x4 of this blue, so if you're following along, 3x4 of blue. This is 4 inches already. We need the 3-inch. Me doing this album along with my instructions is helpful because then I can see when I missed things like this. So you're going to see that these are the same size. We're going to go ahead and trim down this doggy one. There's a lot of white up here. So we're going to cut it fairly close. We still have a little bit of white on the window. And I'm going to take a little tiny bit off the bottom. All right, so now we have the top and the bottom. Okay, now we need to do the sides. So I'm going to take it right up to the edge of that little window frame on both sides. I know it cuts off a tiny bit of flowers, but it'll fit better. And we're going to just center that. Okay, so I think we're done with the trimmer. We're going to just put that aside again. All right, we're going to glue the two pieces together. This little guy. Now, if you love pop dots like I love pop dots, you could always pop dot this piece on the front. I'm using a lot of glue. You don't have to use as much glue as I'm using. And you can do this part with a tape runner if you would like. There's not a lot of pressure on it, so it's not something that you have to go crazy on. Okay, now I have these kind of random sheets of pop dots in my stash, and I'm just going to use the whole sheet on the back of this. These are skinny by my standards. I usually love a really thick pop dot, but for sake of time and everything, it's just easier for me to just show you. I should cut the other edge off to make it easier. Okay, yeah, sure. I said it was easier, right? All right. I'm just taking the sheet off the back of here, and I'm going to put the pop dots on the back of the blue piece. Hopefully it won't stick out. Perfect. All right. I don't know where I had gotten these, but you can tell they're like birthday images. I'm not taking all the papers off. I'm just taking a few of the big ones off. The little ones will leave. Okay. Now, I'm going to leave this part closed when I'm attaching this because we want it to be on the left part of the page. We're kind of going to go middle-ish. Not too high, not too low, kind of middle-ish. Right in there. Now, the rest of this is a combination of your sticker sheets and your embellishment pack. So you can go ahead and find your sticker sheet. I know I said I didn't want you to watch me put stickers on things, but for these couple of little pieces, just because it's the album cover, we're going to do this. Now, I'm seeing the heart is from the die cuts. The Rub My Belly, Feed Me is right here. So we're going to put him right there. Rub My Belly, Feed Me. The little doggy paw is from the die cuts. The Rough Life is from the die cuts, and this is from the sticker sheet. So I'm just going to kind of not stick that down. It's just kind of sitting there just for the moment. Okay. We're going to go to our die cut pack, and I see the heart was sitting right on top. I'll take these babies out. We don't use all of them, but we use a good amount of them. So we're going to use Rough Life on here. We're going to do the cute little heart on there, and we need the cute little paw. Okay, there's a little paw, so we're just going to punch out the little paw. Alrighty, and then we're going to put our little grouping together. So the die cuts do need glue or adhesive. My albums travel with me. So when I go to shows, I'm going to be at the Dulles Expo Center, at the Scrapbook Expo, at, let's see, it's April 29th and 30th. I don't know, it's at the end of April. Maybe it's April 30th and May 1st. I'm not sure exactly what the dates are, but it's that last weekend in April. It's Friday and Saturday. And that is the Scrapbooking Expo. If you've never been to one, wow, they're a lot of fun. A lot of great vendors go to those, and they have lots of classes. I did this one a little lower than my other one, but I think it still looks cute. So the cover is basically done except for the word spoiled, which we're not going to worry about. Now, you're going to see I did put paper on the spine of these, and that was that dog bowl paper that I cut out. So if we find our dog bowl paper from earlier, okay, here, these are my two spines. So you have two strips that are going to be your spines of your album. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my glue down. At the Scrapbook Expo, I am not teaching any classes. It's too hard to work the booth and do classes. If you've ever been to my store or an expo and see me in any of those, you know I do custom paper. I'm not using any custom paper in this album, but I have a lot of custom paper. I haven't done a tally recently. We're just going to go ahead and flip this whole thing over, and we're going to put the glue on this one and do it on the other binding. I guess I had that one. I don't know. There's not really an up and down with these. These all go directions. When I do the expos and all, I bring all my thousands of sheets of custom paper. I have many destinations. I'm not going to say all because I don't have all, but I have lots of countries of the world. I have all 50 United States in multiple designs. I have a lot of destinations within the 50 United States. Those are all in my online store. So you can see the custom paper designs in the online store. I don't have everything in my online store yet. And by everything, I mean I don't have I haven't gotten beyond states. When I closed my store, I also changed my website around, so I did not end up moving I haven't had a chance to load everything in. Because like I said, I have thousands of sheets of paper on there. We've got all sorts of things. I've got Disney, Universal Studios, Harry Potter. I've got travel destinations. I've got cruise paper, cruise lines. I have a lot of Ireland paper. A lot of my lovely customers travel to Ireland. A lot. So I've had many requests for Ireland paper over the years, which is fun. So now I have tons of Ireland paper. All right, so now we have the whole outside of the album decorated. We're going to move on to the inside of the album. And I'm going to take the easy route, and I'm going to work on the waterfall for the moment. So for the waterfall, we're going to need to find this guilty of stealing hearts. He is super cute, and I don't know where he ran off to. He is guilty of running away. Okay, here we go. Guilty, thief of hearts. Now, I can tell I did trim the white off the top and the bottom, so we're going to do that. I used thin strips of the black dog bone paper, which is also the black paper is also the red paper. So the red paper, I need I need the piece that's going to fit in here. That looks like the piece that's going to fit there, and I need the 2 strips that are going to fit there. Perfect. So we're going to start by gluing these guys down. I just thought this was the cutest little guy. I just had to show him off. I was just like, he's so adorable. So when I'm gluing the red piece down, I left myself some room here. Okay, you can tell that the edge of the piece is kind of up here, and then we're doing 1/2-inch strips over the top. So glue around the outside edges. You can do a little X, and that should be enough. I was saying earlier that my albums and things get touched a lot when I'm at scrapbook expos and crops and things. You can touch my albums, look at them, thumb through them, check them out, and they get touched a lot and dropped a lot. And they have to travel in bins, so they get mushed in bins. And so I love the glue for everything, because with these little mini albums, you do not have page protectors on here. And so this glue just kind of helps it stay a little bit better. Now I can see my glue is bubbling up a little bit, which it is known to do. The good thing about the beacons is you can just take your finger and smush it out if you need to. Just roll your fingers if you get the glue on it, and it comes right off, which I love because I do get it on myself quite frequently. Okay, and the last is going to be this little guy, the little thief of hearts. He's so cute, but I am going to trim it down just a touch. I'll just do that off camera. I'm just taking about 1/8 of an inch off the top and about 1/8 of an inch off the bottom, just to make it a little bit smaller. So that way we can keep the focus on his cute little face. And then we're just going to take our glue. When it does bubble up, especially if you're working an album like this, I don't even worry about it. Some people worry about it and try to wipe it off with a paper towel and things like that. I don't care. I just let it go. So it's fine. And now we have glue. And we're just going to center this little guy. Look how cute he is. He's so cute. I love him. Now, you are going to notice as we're going through here that I have not finished decorating some pages. Sorry. This was one of these projects that trying to get stuff done is difficult when I'm not away at a scrapbook weekend where I have to focus all my time, or where I can focus all my time on just scrapping, not having to worry about, I'm just trying to figure out what paper this is. This is the yellow dog bone paper. When I'm at a scrapbook weekend, I can do nothing but design. When you're at home, as you know, life gets in the way and you don't just spend all your time designing. So here we go. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to readjust myself here a little bit. My back is getting tired from standing. Oh my God, why is this not rolling? One of the things I did for myself is I got myself a standing desk. So it goes up and down, which is nice. So that way when my back hurts, I can just move the desk. I love it. All right. So this little piece of waterfall page has these adorable little words. We're going to glue this towards the right side because we're going to cover the left side with the yellow dog bones. When you get the album kit, you're going to have pictures of all the pages of the album. So that way you can go through and decorate. There'll be instructions. Of course, you get the cutting sheets like I was showing you today on how we cut everything. You will have the cutting sheets in your kits. On this one, we're going to go ahead and tear off the right edge. And then we're just going to glue it down. And then we're going to glue this up to the left edge on here. I'm going to slide that. We're going to tear the edge again. I love to tear edges. If you do not like to tear edges, do not tear edges. Completely up to you. It's not mandatory. You can use different papers. Like say you didn't like this paper, you don't want to use this paper. There's leftover paper in here. There's a lot of the green with the dog toys. You can switch your papers around. If you don't want to use the front side of the paper, use the back side. Doesn't matter. Next, we're going to move on to the green dog toy one, which is also the dog bowls. And this is where you can tell I haven't finished. I am going to decorate up these pages and put photo mats on there. So if you get the kit, you are going to end up having some photo mats and a few more things to cut out. That'll be included in the cutout instructions. Why did I do that? I must have done the wrong measurement. Oops. Okay, so I made that a little narrow. No biggie. Mistakes happen. You can always go back and put a border on something to fix it up. I must have looked at the wrong measurement when I cut these, or I have it written down wrong. So I will double check that. And this could be just an oops from me when I was writing. The next pages are going to be the dog bowls. Sometimes, you know, when I'm doing the measurements and things, I'm putting this together. I was writing these instructions at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, I probably just measured it a little wrong. So we will fix that in the instructions. So it'll be the full page for you. Alrighty. Next is going to be a piece of the plaid. The plaid is the back side of the hearts, I think. Yes, it is. So let's see if I measured these wrong too. Yes, I did. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyways, we're doing the plaid on these. Boom. Plaid. Not sure where my brain was when I did this. Sorry, folks. If you did this at home and you want, you can put borders on these pages. We do have a lot of the solid cardstocks left. You can always go more right or left with it. But I will fix it. So if you're getting any of the kits, and I know I had a couple of people order kits just in the last couple of days, and I have not sent those kits yet because I'm finishing up these instructions, and I will have it fixed. So your kits will be fine, your instructions will be fine when you get them. But if you happen to be doing it along, because I know somebody did get a kit ahead of time, if you happen to be doing it along and it's a little off, just go to one side or the other and you can put a little border on them and they will look great. Next, we're moving on to polka dots, which I think are all part of the dog paper. Yep. Polka dots. Good Lord, I messed up every single one of these. I'm sorry. I'm not usually this off on my instructions. But it's better that I make the mistakes versus you guys making the mistakes, right? I always tell people I make the mistakes so you don't have to. And this will be fixed, so you will not have to make these mistakes. Yay! Goodness. Whoopsies. I just pulled some glue onto that one. You get a little glue on the paper, you just rub it and it comes right off. That's one thing I really love about this glue. A lot of other glues, if you're using like a white glue, the white PVC glues, they do not rub off. And they like to stick to your fingers for a really long time, and I cannot stand that. This time we're using the doggies on the page. I can't stand that feeling of glue stuck on my finger that I cannot get off. I think that's probably another one of the main reasons why I love this glue. All right. Doggies. And as you can tell, I'm just going through and doing all the back sheets of the paper, and then later you can go through and do the front sheets. Oh, these were correct. Why didn't I use those measurements? Silly me. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to use this Lucky Dog. Okay, come here, baby. Come to me. All right, we're going to use this Lucky Dog piece. As you can see, it's way too big, so we need to trim this down. And I'm not going to trim this one too small like I did the other ones. All right, we're going to take the lovely paper trimmer, and I can tell from my sample that I ended up having to cut off a little bit of each of the ends of the dog bone to make it fit. Just a skosh. Okay, because we want it to fit in the waterfall behind everything. So, again, just right to a little bit of the end of one of the bones. And then that should fit. Now, I don't know, this is the back one. The fold is way up here, so we have plenty of room to go ahead and put a stripe piece on here. And then we also need our piece of orange, which is in the back of the green, I believe. Hopefully I kept that one the right size. I did. Yay. Hallelujah. There you go. There's that one. And then we need the 2 strips of stripe. One for there and one for here. So just when you're gluing it down, don't go over where this page folds. Okay, you want to go, you can go up near the crease, just don't go over the crease. Okay. Now when you're doing these albums, I know it's hard to tell what the size of your photos are going to be. So some people will go through and just put all the base papers down like I'm doing right now and not put the photo mats on the pages until you have your photos that you know are going to fit in the photo mats, if that's making sense. So you can completely go through, do this whole album, do all the back decorations and everything, and not do the photo mats or even the decoration until you have your photos printed and you know what sizes and stuff you're going to need. Because sometimes it's easier that way. Now, if you're doing this as a gift to somebody, I would put the photo mats on there. If you want, you could even just with a pencil before you can just go ahead and write on there what the size of the photo is that they need for the page, if you want to do that for people. Or they can use a ruler and measure and do it that way. All right. I don't want to go too low with this because it kind of has a weird fold. I guess it's not folding there. But, all right, so photo mats and embellishments. I know you guys are capable of doing those on your own. Not a problem. I did cut paper for these two binding pieces. Those are red on one side. Excuse me. Sorry. Haven't had a cold in a while, and it's not fun. Okay. Those are the skinny ones. I thought I did big ones. This is me double checking myself, making sure I did. Should have a second long red strip. Or, unless I missed it. Okay. Ah, there it is. It was hiding. There we go. All right. I was pretty certain I had done that. You're just going to go ahead and put your glue right on the red side and glue these right in the binding. Like I said earlier, I did not put any paper on that binding. The magnets are strong, but they're stronger when you don't have too many layers of paper on top of your magnets. So that's why I did not cover the inside magnets page with paper. You can, it will still close. However, when you put all your pictures and stuff in here, this is going to end up being chunky and it could push against the magnets more. It's going to be stronger if you don't put them on there. All right, so now we have waterfall done, binding done, the whole outside of the album is done, and we're ready to move on to this lovely beast here, which is the fold out. Whee! Now, I'm going to probably cut this off a little bit around 1 o'clock, but we're going to cover this with paper. I'm going to do this front cover first. We're going to cover it with a piece of the red cardstock, so that's going to go right in the center. Then we have the paper that has the words on it, which I think is yellow. That's going to fit in the middle. And then we have two strips of turquoise, one of which I knocked on the floor. And I'm going to see if I can pick it up without falling off the chair. Am I even close to the paper? No. Here we go. One. Yeah, that's the right one. And that one's longer. Third time's the charm. Okay, so we are working on this little cover piece here. Now, let's go ahead and start by doing our red paper. We're just gonna right in the middle. Now, you could cover the folio while it's not in the album. However, this way, in case you put something backward, like you're going to be less likely to put paper on the wrong spot if you do it with the folio in the album first and then put the paper on the outside. You're more likely to make mistakes if you have the folio on the outside of the album. You could easily put everything in the wrong direction. Now, is it the end of the world if you do that and you put your papers going the wrong way? No, it's not. You go with it. Nobody's going to know except you. If you want to use different papers on it, not a problem. If you didn't want to use this one and you want to use this one, use it. There are no rules with this. You make these albums your own. I fully embrace people making changes because a lot of times somebody's going to come up with something even better than what I came up with. And being creative and making it your own is part of the fun of doing these mini albums. I know sometimes people just need to hear that and hear the permission to make it their own, go off book, do something different. It's fine. Do it. Make it your own. Now, we're gonna, next piece we're gonna put in here is the word love. In my original book, I popped it up. I am not popping it up today. I have a little white edge here, though, that I am going to... I should take my paper trimmer so it's straight, but whatever. It's going to go like that. Okay. The love is just going to go in the center, and then our other piece we're going to kind of line up over the top of this. I'm not popping it up because once you put your photos and everything, it's going to end up being chunky. So I don't want to put too much strain on the magnets and stuff. So love is just going to get glued right in the center. Now, the next piece we're going to look for two pieces. We're going to look for True Love Has 4 Paws. It's one of our cutout ones. This guy here. We need to trim him down because we want the red to show underneath as if it were mounted. Okay? So we're going to trim this down a little bit from the top, a little bit from the bottom, and both sides pretty much up to the edges of where the design is. Okay? Sorry, I'm doing this off camera, but okay, so True Love Has 4 Paws. This is going to be glued right in the center of the red. Do I have that coming up higher? I'm just seeing my fold. I think my fold is higher. I guess once we pop it all up, it'll be fine. You can always refold this if you need to. I'm just thinking I need to trim a little bit off of this edge. And I just mean like 1/4 of an inch, not a lot, just a little bit. Not even 1/4 of an inch, but just because I don't want it showing behind that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and glue this to the red piece. Now we are kind of eyeballing this because we want the red piece to, the magnets are going to need to line up. And we want the red piece to be able to, be thick on here because we want it to kind of be like that. So that way we have room for this to grow. All right. So I'm going to put my glue on my red piece. And I'm going to kind of hold it in place where I think I have to kind of look at this better. I probably wasn't even on camera to show you that, but I put the glue just on the red and I'm laying this down over the top of it because I want it to be pretty much lined up when it's closed. So we want to glue this in place. I could have gone a little bit further with the glue. We're going to just tack a little bit more glue here. Okay. Now, so now we have, okay, a little bit of glue came out the back. Not a problem because we're going to do 2 things on the back of this. We have a piece of the dog bowl paper that we trimmed down that should fit over the back of this. Okay. My dog bowl paper is a little bit long, so I'm going to trim it down. Let's go. I don't want it really showing behind my True Love Has Four Paws. Did not trim it down enough. Okay, so I want it to be, I'm going to glue it right to here. Now, before I glue this green piece of paper, gosh, I need it a little bit thinner. Sorry, I was off of my measurements. Come on, paper, work with me. Okay, before I glue it down, I'm going to glue my magnet to the piece of paper under here, the beige piece, okay? Now, to figure out where I'm going to put my magnet, I'm going to take my glue. I'm going to put my glue. You can do this with a pop dot too, so if you have pop dots handy, you can do this with a pop dot. So, not a pop dot, a glue dot. A glue dot is what I was trying to think of. All right, so I'm just going to kind of close my page where I think it's roughly center, okay? I'm just giving a little press, okay? I want to see where the glue ends up on here, okay? That is going to tell me where my magnet needs to go. So I'm going to take my magnet, I'm going to take the glue, and I'm going to put it where the glue is, okay? I want a little bit more glue here. I'm going to glue this one in place a little bit better too, just because this one is. Okay, so I want the glue there because in that way the magnet is going in the correct direction. All right, it's going to line up with the other one. And now I'm going to take my glue and then I'm going to put my glue on the back here, going all around the magnet because I want to kind of build up a little bit of a wall so that that magnet stays in place. And now I'm going to put my dog bowl paper on here. A tiny bit of glue there. So we're going to make sure that our dog bowls don't stick out from the front because it's got that weird green paper on it. But we want to make sure I'm just squeezing the magnet so that way that glue is just really thin on there. But then I want everything else to kind of go right up to that magnet. And then we're just going to give that time to settle. All right, it's going to be fine. It's going to settle. Now, we're going to work on the big giant fold out. So we're going to open this up to the left, okay? So you should still see the love should be facing upward when you're doing this, okay? So we have now got many panels. I'm just going to slide this over to try to get most of these on here. And then we're going to play the matching game with papers. So we have 6 whole panels. So this side has 6 or 7. Well, yes, 6. 6 on this direction. Yeah, 5 the other way. Anyways, so we're going to play the matching game. So you're going to look at the photos in your instructions and you're going to see that we need lots of papers. I'm going to grab my papers real quick because I kind of have them underneath. And I need to find them real quick. So we have 4 sheets. We have 4 sheets of the hearts that we're going to use. We've got lots of strips of blue plaid. So we need lots of strips of blue plaid. All right, we have the 2 long ones. We're going to need those. But we also have lots of small strips of the blue plaid, which I need to find. I think they're the back of the hearts. Yep, back of the hearts. Okay. So all your small strips of your blue plaids, all your hearts, and you need 2 of the red ones that are skinny and long, these dog bone ones, and then we needed those edges. So I think we have it all. Okay. So what you're going to do, the easiest way I find to do this is we're going to lay our book out, and I'm going to try to keep as much in focus as possible. And we're going to just lay our papers down on how they're going to go, okay? So each of the hearts, these four next panels all get hearts. The last one gets the dog bones and the long skinny blue. And then each of these gets a fat one and a skinny one. So a fat one and a skinny one for each of these. All right, so we've got the dog bones and the blue long plaid. We've got fat one, skinny one, hearts, fat one, skinny one, hearts, fat one, skinny one, hearts, and then you're ending on the dog bones and blue. Okay, so this is all going to end up folding out. So I'm going to just start, I'm going to just kind of fold it up a little bit, and I'm going to start from the inside binding. And I'm just going to set those aside for a second. We're going to start with the long black dog bones. Okay, we're going to go ahead and glue this one down. All right, so here is what's happening. All right, I was supposed to do a preview at 1 o'clock of the upcoming purge sale. I'm going to just continue on with this video until I just get the base papers down on the folio, because we're close. We're close to finishing all the basics except for decorating. And I just want to finish this off, and then we will go to the purge stuff. The purge stuff I'm going to do a separate video for, okay? Just because on this one, I have all my purge stuff downstairs in my downstairs office. I know it probably sounds a little crazy, but I've got the downstairs office and the upstairs office. So I just filmed this on the upstairs office. We're going to need to move downstairs and do the purge sale previews down there. So let's hope my phone lasts. I doubt it's charging as it's as we're filming this, but so the skinny strips go on the bottom of this, and then the fat strips are going to go on the top, and we're going to tear a tiny edge on the top on that one. Your first one that you sit down is going to be kind of how everything else is going to line up. And I would have liked to go on a little bit higher, but whatever, we're good. Okay, I would just have a tiny overlap. So I'm overlapping the blue onto the hearts. Remember, when you glue these down, stay away from the folds. Stay in the middle of the page. I did not tear my edge. Okay, this is going to be fun. Let's tear an edge of paper covered in glue. Yay. Huh, it's behaving. It's behaving and it's letting me tear. Yay. Okay, that was I did a little tiny tear. You could probably tear more, except that I had it covered in glue. Oops. Okay. So now I'm just going to open this up and do the next two panels. Put the little strips aside. Put my glue. So we want the little hearts up. And then, as you can see, my glue is running over. So hopefully you all are going to join us on Saturday for the Paper Crafters Purge sale. The sale starts at 8 p.m. on Saturday night. I know all the vendors have 30 items that they're going to be selling during the Purge sale. I've got some really good deals on different items, and I will have those some of my deals shown in my next video that we're going to do here on live. I'm going to tear my edge this time, because I should have done it last time and I didn't, but I'm going to do it this time so that way it's done. I'm going to do this one too. I love to tear paper. I love the different texture, which is why I tear paper. If you've never participated in the purge sale, it's fun. So basically, all the vendors are going to post items for sale. And when you decide you like a certain item, you comment in the comments sold. And then in the next day or so, the vendors are you're gonna get your information to the vendors. You'll private message. Do not put it in the notes in the comments. We don't want the whole world to know your email address and your mailing address. You just want to communicate that with the vendor that you purchased from. And then they'll send you an invoice online. Everybody, all the vendors, most of the vendors I think use Square, and we send you invoices through the Square. Every vendor has it listed how they do their invoicing. And then you just pay your invoice securely online through the Square, and we ship you the items. And it's vendors from all over the country. We're all scrapbook stores or were scrapbook stores. It seems weird to be in the were scrapbook store category. However, I still have my online store where I have wonderful little mini albums like this. I've got card kits. I've got all sorts of goodies. Okay, so now this is the last pages of the thing. So you see we're going on to the hearts and the doggies. So I can tear my little edge here. So for those of you that like online shopping, the Facebook sale is a very personable way of doing online shopping, because you're buying directly from one of us small stores, and you can communicate with us through Messenger, and so you're actually talking to real people. We're not just some big corporation out there sending stuff. We are real people working on these from our stores or our offices, and we greatly appreciate everybody that participates in the purge sales. And it's always interesting. Every month, every vendor, like, we don't have a lot of overlap of product. As many, we all buy from the same manufacturers and things, but it's so funny because there's so little overlap of, us selling the same kits and things. So there's always quite an amazing selection of items. So I think, 300 different items this weekend that are going to be up in the purge sale. 300. That's really good. So a lot of really cool stuff and a lot of really good deals too, because we do try to find some really good deals for you guys. And then of course most of us have online stores, so you can shop with us during the month in our online stores. My store is Photo Scraps, and online it's photoscrapsinc, all one word, .com. And I do have my kits in the store, and I have a lot of my custom papers in the store. All right, so now we can unfold this, and we have this whole side covered with paper. So then the last part to cover is this back side, so we can unfold it going the other direction, and then we can pull all our papers for that. So we need the dog papers and the rough, pretty much all the big papers that you see left we need. So we need the dog papers. Dog papers are going, let's see, 1, 2 dog paper, 3 dog paper. Oh, we got that little pocket. Remember that pocket from earlier? We're going to do the pocket. Where is the camera? There it is. Hi. Pocket. We're going to do the pocket on this page in here. So we're going to glue the pocket down too. So let me show you how to do that. Sorry. Alright, so we have that, and then we should have a piece of the red for the pocket. I'm just playing my little matching game here. We've got some dog bone strips that go with our long dog pages. And then our 2 pages in the middle are going to be these word papers with the dog bones, and then we're going to have the little strips like that. So I'm going to start all the way over on the left side. Okay, we know this is the left side because we have the little flap here. Okay, so that's the left side. All right, and we're going to start with the pocket. Remember earlier we created this lovely little pocket? And right now what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on 3 sides. And then we are going to glue the pocket right towards the bottom in the center of this page. And you're just going to hold it. La 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 da 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 da. Okay, sorry. That is my thinking music. All right, we just want to make sure that that's attached. On the pocket, we are putting the dog bones, and my dog bones fit. So we are going to, if it fits, we glue. So we're going to go ahead and glue. So this is going to go right on top of my pocket. So boom, nice. The pocket's attached. So you can put whatever you would like in the pocket later on. You can put photos of your baby. You can do whatever you would like. Now this, I did a little bit too big. We don't want that to pop out the top. So I need to cut about 1/4 of an inch on here. I just got binged, but I'm not sure what the bing was. Sorry if somebody's emailing me or whatever. Because I just carry on. Carry on, carry on, carry on. Okay. I am not sticking out the top. Okay. As long as I'm not sticking out the top, I'm good. So I know I need to wrap this thing up and move on to the next thing, but I'm sorry. Sorry if you're tuning in and you're expecting the preview and you're still on the dog album. Go ahead and glue your big piece of dog paper. I'm almost done the doggy album, so if you're just tuning in and you're seeing this, this is me finishing up covering the doggy album. So this is where you're covering one of your seams, because we made that really long piece of paper, and I'm not in the center, and there we go. All right. This back side is a little bit harder because you don't have that super flat spot to glue things down to, but I just did that on the wrong side, but oh well, nobody's gonna know. Follow your photos in your instruction. Not what I'm doing on camera. On my instructions, I had this strip going on this side, but oops, whatever, not a big deal. And like I said earlier, I'm not doing photo mats in the video, and I'm not doing, we cut them, but I'm not putting them down because you guys can put a photo mat down. You guys can put embellishments down. That's not a problem. You know what you're doing. Our next page is these lovely little words. Boop. Just slide over there. Lovely little words. And then we get dog bones down here. So lovely little words. Dog bones. And border. One thing I love about the glue is you can get through a number of albums with a bottle of glue. I started a new one today, and let's see, I'm down, I've been using a good amount. I'm down to about here, so I could still get another couple of albums out of here. I find it's so much faster for me to do my albums with my glue. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost done. So I hope anybody that has managed to stay through this or has gotten to this point in the video or is just joining me, I hope hopefully you maybe learned something today. Hopefully you will be inspired to make your own little doggy album. I have these kits available in my online store. They're also available by just messaging on the Facebook. You can find my information on Paper Crafters Purge Sale. I'm actually the person doing this live video, so you can just message in the comments and I can get with you. Let me just make sure I'm putting my borders on the right parts. Okay, I'm doing my borders on the outside, so I'm doing doggies in the center, borders on the outside. So I'm sorry for my confusion and chaos, but you know, it wouldn't be a video for me if I didn't have confusion and chaos. That is my mode. As much as I try to be organized and stuff always gets in the way. Things always happen. Phones always decide, hey, I don't have enough battery. You know, that kind of thing. Always. It's inevitable. All right. This goes towards the center. All right, so these are the last two strips of big paper. Everything else that's left is just your photo mats, which you can always decide to do once you have your photos. So that way you know your photos are going to fit the photo mats. Nothing wrong with that. And like I said, with the album kit, you're going to have full photos. You'll have, you know, all the pictures of where the stickers and the die cuts go. And yeah. It all comes complete. Alrighty. Okay, so now there's the back side of the waterfall, and I just realized I did all of that off camera. Sorry, I just glued those on there. There's the back side of the waterfall, not waterfall, whatever you call it, fold out. I call this a fold out. And there's the front side. So then this just bloop, 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 bloop. Now we get to try the magnet and see how we did. Yay! It worked! Woo! It worked. Okay. That was me celebrating that my magnet closure actually worked. It was nice and strong. And then the book still closes. Yay! And you can see we filled up that space. Earlier when I first started, I showed you how narrow, not narrow, but how much room we had in here. Now you don't have as much room. But there's still room for your photos, so you can put your photos in there and have this adorable mini album. Thank you so much for staying with me during this video, and I will be back in about 5 minutes with the preview of the Paper Crafter Purge Sale stuff I'm going to have available on the Purge Sale this Saturday evening. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back in about 5. Bye!